The Pokemon Legends Arceus leaks keep on coming, and we have a ton to break down. So let's take a look. Yo, whoa, what is going on YouTube? It's your boy Dan, aka aDrive, bringing you guys a brand new video today. And today we're gonna dive into the world of Pokemon Legends Arceus and all of the new stats for all of the new Pokemon and their abilities, which aren't actually in the game. And it's gonna be wild because let me tell you, some of these stats are crazy. We're gonna look at how all these Pokemon are gonna function in future games, because even though there's no real competitive in Arceus, inevitably these Pokemon are gonna appear in a future game, and we're gonna wanna know what's going down with them, and it may help you make your decision on what you wanna use on your playthrough. Obviously, if you don't want spoilers, this is not the video for you, but I appreciate everyone who's been enjoying and watching the channel, as we have so much to cover, guys. Like, seriously, there are so many videos for us to cover and make, but I'm gonna be segmenting them off into different pieces so we can have more concise and organization with it. It's gonna be a blast. I'm actually really excited, and we're gonna dive into the stats right now. We're gonna talk about all the new Pokemon and kind of what they look like in gameplay, and it's gonna be a lot of fun. I hope you guys are excited. Without further ado, let's take a look. Let's just dive right in. So the first thing is Centro's actually reporting out a lot of this stuff, and obviously, as the disclaimer is, none of the footage or anything that I'm using in these videos is my own. I'm simply reporting on it for news and media purposes. So we're gonna take a look at each of the new Pokemon and kind of what their stats are. I'm gonna give my thoughts from a competitive perspective, because even though Arceus is not a competitive game, obviously these Pokemon will have some sort of life in future games. We're gonna talk about their abilities and what those mean. Although abilities are not in Arceus, we have them in the game files. And then we're actually gonna talk about 25 new moves that have actually been revealed. They took a lot of old moves out and changed a lot of things, but nonetheless, a lot to be excited about. So first things first is we got Hisui and Growlithe and Arcanine. I don't care too much for Growlithe, but it does have a really high attack stat. And we see Arcanine seems to have, I believe, the exact same stat distribution as regular Arcanine. 115 attack, pretty high special attack at 95, 90 speed is pretty solid. I think if it's not the same, it's very similar to what Arcanine is. And honestly, this is a really good stat distribution. It's very naturally bulky, it hits really hard from the physical side, it can use special type attacks, and it's pretty naturally fast. And this is a fire and rock type Pokemon, which are two very offensive types. So ultimately, like, I would say that this is a pretty good stat distribution for Arcanine. Obviously has to worry about those water moves, obviously has to worry about those ground type moves, but other than that, this thing can hit like a truck, presumably with that stat. Then we look at Electrode, which again, I'm pretty sure this is just the same exact stat distribution as regular Electrode. So you have the 150 base speed, 80 special attack, and then overall very frail, and it just kind of keeps its speed stat, and it's very, very fast. I'll be honest, it seems as though they may have kept a lot of these the same, which I guess is okay, but I would have liked to see them kind of make some changes. It does seem like they make some changes though, because I see some as I move down this list. So Electrode seems to be pretty similar, and again, maybe if it's not exactly the same, it's darn close to what regular Electrode is. Grass and Electric does give it a little bit more viability. Obviously, only Rotom is the only other Grass and Electric type, so it can use Volt Switch, and then if a ground type comes in, it can hit it with a Grass type move. The thing that Electrode struggles with is its special attack stat is very low, so it has to either use a Choice Specs or a Life Orb or some sort of power boosting item. Depending on what its moveset is, it could end up benefiting from like a Seed Flare. I haven't dove too far into the movesets, and things are going to change anyway when these Pokemon get revealed into the full games. From there, we have Hisui and Typhlosion, which, by the way, looks way better with the flames. Okay, I'll admit it. Looks way better with the flames. This thing has 119 special attack, which is very high. This has a different speed stat, though. It's 95 speed instead of 100 speed. I know Typhlosion has 100 base speed. So, overall, not too shabby here. This is a relatively fast Pokemon that can hit very hard on the special side, and it's naturally relatively frail, like very average bulk. Physical attack is low at 84, but overall, I would say this thing is just going to be an offensive special attacker. Pretty straightforward stuff there. Qwilfish has a pretty standard stat spread. I think that's actually pretty much exactly what Qwilfish is normally, with the 95 attack, 85 speed. Hisui and Sneasel seems to be the same as well, 115 speed, 95 attack, nothing to see there. Dialga and Palkia, I actually have no idea what their stats normally look like, if I'm being totally honest, so I can't really comment, but obviously they're busted legendaries with incredible bulk on Dialga. Palkia has the incredible speed stat at 120. Both of them are just hitting like trucks with their special attack stat at 150, so that seems pretty straightforward. Samurott actually getting a little bit of a different treatment here, getting the mix between its attack and its special attack. Its special defense is very low though, and I'll be real, I'm gonna actually look, because there's no way that Samurott's regular special defense is that low. There's no way. I don't believe it for a second. Yeah, its normal special defense is 70, and its normal special attack is 108. So it looks like they did change Samurott. They made him more of a physical attacker instead of a special attacker, and his special defense is very low, and in exchange they made him faster, which I think is very good. Historically, Samurai benefits from like a Swords Dancing set, so giving him an 85 base speed actually allows him to potentially be like a mixed wall breaker that can hit pretty hard with like a Life Orb. Then you've got Hisui and Lilligant, which obviously changes very drastically. It goes from being a Quiver Dance setup special sweeper to being a more physical attacker, which kind of makes sense with the fact that it's got that fighting typing. So that's really solid, being able to hit pretty hard with 105 attack. Very frail otherwise. This is a very average line Pokemon in terms of its stats, but 105 speed and 105 attack are really good. I can see this thing having some viability with things like U-turn. Fighting in grass is not exactly a rare typing now. We've seen it with Chestnut and Breloom and now Decidueye, so again, solid mon. Then you've got Hisui and Basculin, which seems to be about the same, 98 speed, 92 attack. You've got the Hisui and Zoroark line, and this is something to be excited about. You've got the 110 speed on Zoroark, which is faster than standard Zoroark. Normally it's 105 speed if I'm not mistaken. The 125 special attack, very, very good. And then you've obviously got the 100 attack, which is very solid as well, allowing him to utilize things like knockoff and U-turn and hit very hard on the special side. Obviously, this thing is paper thin, right? Like, it's very, very frail. So, you know, you're gonna obviously want to hit as hard as you can and just outspeed things and just chunk things with your offensive stats. Braviary ends up being 112 special attack, so Braviary gets kind of a nerf to its speed and ends up losing a little bit of its natural bulk. I'm pretty sure it was a little bulkier than that, but it does hit okay from the physical side, but it does become a special attacker, which I think we kind of all anticipated happening. It does get a speed drop, though. Then we look on to Hisui and Goodra. This thing keeps its insane special defense. It slows itself down a little bit. I'm pretty sure it was a little faster than that. I think it sat at like 80 base speed, and I think as a result of it, it probably got a little bit of a buff to its physical defense. And what that means is Goodra is a bulkier Pokemon than it was before. Its physical bulk has made up for the fact that it lost some speed because it's a steel typing now. Very good. Avalugg gets a massive, still has the massive defense stat at 184, still has a great attack stat at 127, very good HP, but its special defense stat is absolute garbage tier, and its speed is absolute garbage tier. So because of that, it's going to make Avalugg very bad against special attacks, but very good against physical attacks. The problem is, though, like, Rock and Ice is not a good defensive typing. Like, it is such a bad defensive typing. There's probably a world where Avalugg does work in Trick Room at some point in the future metagames, but probably not anytime soon. Then you've got Hisui and Decidueye, which obviously gets the regular Decidueye treatment of being incredibly slow, but now he's got a better physical attack stat, obviously, to take advantage of the fact that he's a physical fighting type. So overall, pretty solid. Decent natural bulk, but nothing to write home about. And again, just very slow on Decidueye there. Weirdeer has great HP and pretty cool offensive stats. Its attack and its special attack are the same, but very average defenses, and speed is very bad. So just overall a bit of a bummer there with Weirdeer, I'm not gonna lie, in terms of its stats. I would have liked to see a much higher attack or special attack stat, and I would have liked to see its speed up as well. Cleaver, this is the first time I'm seeing Cleaver. Cleaver's stats actually look phenomenal. Like, real talk, this might be the standout right now from this list, outside of like legendary potential, is Cleaver. Because Cleaver with 135 attack puts it above Scissor at 130, so it hits harder than Scissor. It has decent physical and special defense, so it's a little frail, right? And 85 base speed, which isn't bad. Like, 85 base speed is a very middle speed tier. That allows this thing to sit really nicely with a Choice Band, or a Choice Scarf U-turn, sit very nicely with an offensive Choice Band set, be able to wall break the more defensive type Pokemon with things like Swords Dance in the future. I actually feel like Cleaver might be the standout on this list, guys. I'm not even kidding. Obviously, I'm biased with my bug types, but that's a pretty good stat distribution for a Pokemon that otherwise we're seeing a lot of Pokemon that are having kind of meh stat distributions. I would say Goodra's probably the top tier right now that I've seen as we worked on this list. But Cleaver looks really good. 135 attack is not anything to mess with. And realistically, like, he's an offensive Pokemon, right? So his defenses aren't a big deal. Ursaluna, the new Ursaring form. This thing actually looks to be kind of a beast too. 140 attack is insane. 130 HP. Very good natural bulk, 105 and 80. Very slow. We'll take a look at the abilities here in a minute. If it still gets Quick Feet, that could be massive for it. And even Guts could be massive for it. So I'm assuming it's going to have those things still. Then you've got the Basculegion, which are male-female splits. And they actually have different stat distributions based on their gender. Their speed is very low, but then their attack and special attack are pretty high. A nice natural buff, and its HP is really good, but its defenses are really low. So overall, this thing is going to be a hard-hitting Pokemon with adaptability, assuming that's the same. Sneasler here is the newest Sneasel evolution. What a weird name. Very similar to Weavile, but it looks like it's a little bit more offensive with 130 attack. and 120 speed, still very frail, but now it's poison and fighting type, which allows it to hit pretty hard that way. So I would say Sneasler is overall pretty good. That's like a decent offensive typing, because the steel types that resist your poison, you just bust them open with fighting type moves. Then you've got Overquill, the new Quillfish evolution with 115 attack, decent defense. Its HP gets a little bit of a buff. Its speed sits at 85, so nothing crazy. Special side is very frail. This thing is probably going to be more of like a support Pokemon with like Toxic Spikes and Intimidate and kind of more like that stuff. So overall, not bad. And then you move to the Genies here. Enamorus, the new Genie. This thing looks crazy. So there's two different forms. There's the regular form, which is very fast at 106 speed, 135 special attack, 115 attack, very frail, hits incredibly hard, and then you flip it. You basically become this super bulky offensive tank with no speed, and I feel like that's actually insane. So a lot of potential here between these Pokemon. Like, I'm not even kidding, these guys look amazing. And then we're gonna take a look at the abilities here. We've got Weirdeer getting Intimidate, Frisk, and Sap Sipper. Cleaver getting Swarm, Sheer Force, and Steadfast. Sheer Force Cleaver actually about to be busted. That's huge. That's what I was waiting to see. Sheer Force Cleaver could be very, very strong. The fact that I could hit absurdly powerfully with obviously the Life Orb boost potentially being a wall breaker down the road, being able to use Rock Slide, a more accurate rock type move, and remove its secondary effects. Ursaluna gets Guts, Bulletproof on Nerve. Probably Guts is the play there. Basculegion gets Adaptability still, which is what we were looking for to see if it would still have that adaptability boost with that higher attack and special attack stat. Could be a cool wall breaker. Sneasler gets Poison Touch and Pressure, so Poison Touch would be the play. Could be really good again at kind of breaking down those walls. Overquill gets Poison Point / Swift, but I'm assuming that means Swift Swim, and Intimidate. So it does keep Intimidate. Very, very good. And then Enamorus actually gets Healer / Contrary on the Incarnate form, which is the fast one. And Enamorus gets Overcoat on the slow one. So the Contrary one, the fast one, could be really good for Intimidate, because if we remember, it had a pretty good attack stat, 115. So when VGC comes out, being Contrary Intimidated, that could be massive. Enamorus could end up, at some point, prediction, Enamorus is going to dominate a competitive VGC metagame down the road. And then Overcoat for a defensive one is pretty dope. You kind of ignore some different things like Spore. Again, same thing. It'll dominate a metagame at some point. And then we look at Growlithe and Arcanine, Intimidate, Flashfire justified. So Arcanine with Intimidate or Flashfire probably good. Electrode getting Soundproof, Static Aftermath, that's the same. Typhlosion getting Blaze, Flashfire. I would like to see a little bit more inspiration there. Quillfish, again, keeping Intimidate. Sneasel getting Poison Touch. Samurott getting Torrent and Shell Armor. Again, no inspiration, a little sad there. Lilligant getting Chlorophyll, Hustle, Leaf Guard. That's a game changer. Hustle Lilligant might actually be nuts, because I think it was 105 or 115 attack. Let me go look. 105 attack with Hustle is actually really strong. Hustle is basically a built-in choice band if you don't miss. So that's actually huge. Basculin stays the same with Adaptability. Zora obviously gets Illusion. Braviary gets Sheer Force, Defiant. Defiant's kind of bad on Braviary because it's more of a special attacker, but Sheer Force could be really good because it can utilize a lot of those offensive moves on the special side that have effects. Sliggoo and Goodra getting Sap Sipper, Overcoat, and Gooey. You probably run Gooey, I would think. Sap Sipper and Overcoat both have viability. Avila gets Strong Jaw, Ice Body, Sturdy. Strong Jaw is probably the play. You boost your physical attacks. You're going to crunch down things on things very hard. Ice Fang becomes a little bit more viable now. And maybe Avalanche is still better though. And then Decidueye seems to be the same, so nothing too crazy there. So that was a lot to uncover, but now we have the full stat breakdown for every single one of the new Pokemon. What are your thoughts? What are your big takeaways? For me, I'm really excited about Cleaver. Sheer Force Cleaver could be insane with that attack stat and really solid speed. Goodra getting that defense buff and being an incredible typing in Steel and Dragon is very, very solid. Hustle Lilligant actually has me excited down the road, and I feel like Enamorus is actually going to be straight up busted. But let me know your thoughts in the comment section below, and that's gonna be that for me, guys. My name is Dan. I also go by aDrive. Be sure to like the video and subscribe if you guys are new, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.